Hey everybody, welcome back to Keto and Crime and Thought Crime. Today I have the interview with my good friend Jen, so we'll get into that momentarily. As I always say when I interview someone, their expressed ideas are not necessarily my ideas. My expressed ideas are not their ideas, and we let our hair down in this one, so there is a little bit of adult language, also descriptions of murders and other things as we get it further into this crime and discuss others along the same genre. So definitely viewer discretion is advised. If there's children in the room, please put on headphones or ask them to leave. And if that's not your jam, then please click off right now. But if you're still here with it, let's get into part two of The Most Hated Woman in America, my interview with my good friend Jen.
Welcome to Thought Crime and Keto Crime, where Tracy does the sleuthing so you don't have to.
Hey everyone, welcome to Thought Crime and Keto and Crime. Today I've got a special treat for you. This is part two on my episode on the murder of former president of American Atheists and founder of American Atheists, Madalyn Murray O'Hair. I've got a really good friend with me here, and we're going to discuss. Jen, take it away. Won't you tell my audience a bit about yourself?
Hi, sorry, it's a new mic, so I'm kind of still fucking with it a bit. Okay. I'm Jen Aldrich, host of GB3, Godless Bitches 3. I'm required to do that. Godless Bitches 3.0 on the Atheist Community of Austin's AEN network. I'm also the host of my own show, The Atheist Wind Down, and my co-host for GB3, it's me, V. LaBianca, and Jenna Belk. You can also catch me on Talk Heathen occasionally, the Nonprofits, Truth Wanted, pretty much any ACA show that, hey, we need a guest, we need a co-host. I'm there. So
Nice. Well, for those of you in my audience that aren't atheists, you may not know what Atheist Community of Austin is. It's like one of the granddaddies and grandmommies of the atheist movement. They sponsored some of the longest running atheist TV shows and web shows.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I may get my ass ripped for this. Atheist Experience, Godless Bitches, and the Nonprofits are actually the three the three longest running shows that we have. I know the Atheist Experience was on during public access days, and the Nonprofits was not too long after that. Godless Bitches as well was on during the cable access days. So we've got some long running ones. We've got some newer ones. Talk Heathen, Atheist Vanguard. No, I think Atheist Vanguard might be old. Some of them are old, some of them are new. That's just, we just show up. We sit in the chair and we're like, yeah, okay.
So if you're so inclined, want to check those out, check out, I'll have Jen's links posted below.
Thank you.
Check those out. They're very interesting discussion. Even if you are religious or are a theist, you'll find some of the discussion very interesting.
Our two of our call-in shows, Atheist Experience and Talk Heathen, actually engages with Christians and people of religion to discuss differences within religion. My show is more politics, editorial based. We cover issues that are going on in the world now. We kind of educate the background of them, and then we tell you how to get involved and how to change things or not change things if so inclined. Nonprofits is an editorial piece. We take a couple of interesting news articles and then we kind of give commentary on them. So
nice.
That's always fun to do. I always love doing the Nonprofits.
Very, very cool. I do an occasional political commentary video, but I usually keep it off the podcast, but I'll do an occasional political
You should do a separate political channel.
I've thought about it, but I've also thought about running my mouth too much because I tend to be right down the middle politically, and I can just see myself pissing off friends I have on both sides. So,
have you seen my Facebook? Have you seen my Facebook? When we're working with the ACA, because we're a 501c3, we can't endorse electable candidates while we're on their shows. But privately, just take a look at my social media. It's like a sport of pissing my friends off at this point. Like,
and it's like when you trigger the right people, it makes you happy.
Yeah. And what's funny is you call the ACA kind of the granddaddy of, and I'm gonna blow some fantasies right now. Everyone thinks you walk into the ACA, you're gonna find this big building and this big community. It's a 3-room house. It's this tiny 3-4 room house that like. If I'm there on a Sunday, I stay outside because it's just too fucking small.
Yeah.
I'm the bad host.
Oh, when I'm a cigarette, I mean, it's like as far as being around a long time and actually being a safe haven for the non-religious. It's been around a long time.
We've been around a long time. But it's your show and I'm taking over and I shouldn't.
No, it's fine. You've been so gracious to come on. But what we're also going to talk about another big player in the atheist movement, the American Atheists. And their founder.
I think it's safe for me to say this now because I think it's almost finalized. But GB3 will be speaking at this year's American Atheist Convention. We will be hosting a workshop on maintaining your autonomy and anonymity and boundaries within the digital age. So August 9th through 13th, if you guys want to come out and see us, we'll be there.
Awesome.
I talk to everyone. And don't be surprised if you see me at like 3 a.m. with a hoodie and like stretchies on going outside to smoke and just being like, just blew your fantasy of your perfect host right there.
Jen's great. We've actually met at a couple of conferences.
Oh yeah, you and I have known each other for like years now.
Yeah,
Wow. I'm getting old. This sucks.
But speaking of American Atheists, we're going to be talking today about the murder of the founder of American Atheists, Madalyn Murray O'Hair.
This is quite the beast you've taken on with this.
I know. For those of you that watched the first part, you know that I kind of went into her history. She had a very colorful life. Was in the Women's Army Corps, had 2 baby daddies, 2 husbands. I
believe she identified as bisexual.
She did.
What we would now know today is pansexual.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have that word back then, so
exactly. And this is like in the 50s and 60s. So.
50s and 60s, right? Like,
yeah,
she was pretty fucking radical.
Yes, she was. And then she supposedly tried to defect to the Soviet Union, though that hasn't been exclusively proven. But it was more a rumor.
I think she probably did have some communist tendencies, kind of an Ayn Rand spin, maybe a little bit. But yeah, she wasn't like part of the Communist Party or any kind of shit like that. They labeled her that because she actually went up against the school system. I believe it was in Maryland.
Yep, in Baltimore.
In Baltimore, right. GB3 just actually covered her case on keeping religion out of public schools and her son was being forced to pray in class. And they said, well, he didn't have to choose it. And she actually actively petitioned the Supreme Court to make sure that children aren't required to pray in class or couldn't pray in class by the school didn't say you have to pray. This is prayer time. If a kid wants to go pray on his own, go pray on his own. But she was. So with that, because we were going through the great communism scare and, the godless commies, they slacked her in with being a communist at that point.
Exactly. Exactly. Well,
just some background for everyone.
Oh, yeah. And what people don't realize is they actually joined her suit, which I think was called Murray versus Kurtel, with another case from Pittsburgh that actually
I did a show on it.
Yeah.
It was Shemp. It was the Shemp case.
Right.
Yep, it was the Shemp case that they lopped her case into. I was like, wow, I can't give a woman shit, huh?
I know. And then that was the one, both of those outlawed the forced prayer and the forced Bible reading.
Yep.
And another case a year before that had also ruled against
Yeah, I believe it was a New York school, which is bizarre to think of New York as being that conservative, and yeah, I think they were forcing kids to pray. No, hers was the prayer case. The case prior to that, the year before, was we're going to be reading Bible verses in the classroom, and they outlawed that. Yep. Right.
Which a lot of my audience are theists and are Christians. They're a great bunch of people, very supportive of me when I said I was an atheist. But a lot of them would agree. They would say
before the pitchforks come out, because I know people are going to hear atheists, and she's on a show called Godless Bitches. Like, I'm not an anti-theist.
Right.
I am not in any way an anti-theist. I believe that faith is something to be privately kept at home, and your ability to believe ends at my nose. And as long as you're not hurting anyone with it or imposing your beliefs, whether it be laws, whether it be other people in your household, whatever, I don't have a problem with it. Some of my closest friends are actually polytheists, which is always a super interesting conversation with an atheist. But before the pitchforks came out and, the godless bitch thing,
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. My audience is super supportive. Most of them would agree with this, that because, I have Catholic viewers that and listeners that would want their children made to do a Protestant prayer. Is my Muslim wouldn't want their children forced to do a
Right.
Christian prayer, and Christians don't want their children forced to do a Muslim prayer. So it
No,
just makes
and
sense to make it equal.
I'm even for religious iconography. I can never say that fucking word right. In public places, as long as everyone else has a shot. If you want to erect a cross, then we can erect a Baphomet next to it. And if you're cool with that, then you're cool by me. It's either have all or have none. I am kind of a prescriptivist when it comes to the Constitution. And I'm like, Establishment Clause, bitch. wait, darling.
Exactly.
So, yeah, before the pitchforks came out, was like, godless bitches, ACA. Yeah. Before those came out.
But so, like I said, she was very, very much the most hated woman in America for a long time. Daily death threats, and eventually even her son, the son that she used as the plaintiff in her case, actually he had some alcohol problems. He went to a 12-step program. He got into religion. That was sort of a bad family fallout. She had a younger son and a granddaughter by the older son that became her adopted daughter. And the three of them lived together in Austin, Texas.
Yep. Which I'm not there quite yet, but I will be this summer.
Right.
Full time.
Cool. Austin's a great city.
I'm tired of traveling once a month to go do the show.
And then in August of 1995, they disappeared. And that's where the murder
under some very suspicious circumstances.
Yes.
Very suspicious circumstances.
A note on the door saying, we've been called away for a family emergency, and some very strained phone calls with the atheist staff over the next month.
There was some rumors of embezzlement too.
Yes, and that was actually proven.
Yeah. Was it? Yeah.
No, proven incorrect.
Yes, that was proven incorrect. But that when I think we all remember what happened with David Silverman, and they were accusing him of sexual misconduct and embezzlement from AA, and I remember hearing that, and I was like, oh shit, I hope this isn't Madeline all over again.
Right.
Because, the same things are said about Madeline. She was quote unquote loose. She was possibly embezzling money from American Atheist. And let's divide it here. David's not loose. He's a fucking predator. And yes, I'm going on the record and saying that. And if he has a fucking problem with it, then bitch, you know where to find me. However, once I started hearing things like embezzlement, and I was like, oh shit, I hope this isn't happening again. And I felt bad for the board members at AA, because I was like, I'm sure they've looked at their history and went, oh fuck.
But I'm glad for her it was proven not to be true.
Yes, because that's all we fucking needed, right?
And what got me the most about this case is that the police did absolutely nothing about it. They didn't care.
No.
Because I'm sure she was the most hated woman in America, and it was a reporter from one of the San Antonio newspapers that continued to hammer away and kind of solve the case.
And thank everything for that reporter, because I really think that looking at her, she was godless. She was a vocal atheist. And then, seeing a woman who's been married twice with two different kids nowadays is no big deal. My sister has a blended family that way. She has 2 from her first husband, and then 3 from, wait, are we at 3? Yeah, we're at 3 with her. I'm like, wait, are we at? She has 3 from her second husband. However, back in that day, women didn't get divorced. Women didn't have children by other fathers unless their spouse had died at a very young age. So she's spearheading this kind of godless campaign in the middle of the Cold War. We have God on our side. This is why we're going to win against the godless commie Russians. She was loud. She was so loud. She was so loud. And she was so loud.
Yeah. A regular contributor to both Hustler and Playboy.
Yes, like she was sex positive, and
right. Encourage she's things like masturbation, and
and like she's raising her granddaughter, and then there was some rumors of her dabbling into drugs and alcohol herself, and so she was not considered the prime. Usually, if somebody goes missing, little white girls, white women always get front page and center in the U.S. She was not the right white woman.
No.
for this. So they didn't give a shit. And it was actually a very small reporter from a very small newspaper in San Antonio that kept digging and digging and digging and digging and finally got to the bottom of it. I really believe if he hadn't, they wouldn't.
It would still be unsolved.
Yeah,
to
I
this
think it would
day.
still be unsolved. And if I remember correctly, the rumors going behind it was she was embezzling money from AA,
Mhm.
and she knew she was going to get caught. So she grabbed her son and her granddaughter and took off so that she wouldn't face prosecution and she wouldn't be shamed and pulled out of AA under embezzlement.
Right.
That still would have been the narrative. And then we would have had, for those who don't know, American Atheist is the monolith in secular political activism.
Mhm.
It is the monolith in the atheist community. We wouldn't have had that. We wouldn't have had an organization like American Atheist and how many have spawned off of it to make sure that everyone, not just the non-believers, the nuns, are protected from religious clauses. If
Yeah.
it wasn't for this one reporter in San Antonio.
Exactly.
And this is why I love San Antonio.
Yeah. I love Texas. I've always.
I don't love Texas. No. I'm a very traditional, typical New Yorker. And whenever I tell my friends I'm moving now and they're like, oh, where? I'm like, name the 3 places you would least expect me to move. Wisconsin. I'm not even convinced Wisconsin even exists at this point. I think it's just space. Texas and Mississippi. Alabama's a close fourth. And then when they go Texas, I'm like, bingo. But I like to say that Texas, Austin is of Texas, and well, Austin's in Texas and not of Texas. Actually, our newest co-host for AXP, Jim Barrows, had said that.
Okay.
So I was like, that's perfect.
I've been to Austin a couple of times. I know I did a show there, and one of the jokes that I told was it's unusual to be in a city where most of the men do not believe in Jesus, but all of them look like Jesus. Because there's a lot of long beards and long hair.
They're so hipster lumberjack. We all went out to dinner one night at this kind of more upscale place. And me and one of my friends actually had a bet on how many guys in flannel would walk in.
Mhm.
And mine was up at like the higher end. Mine was like a 15. I think theirs was like 5. And I actually won this fucking bet. I was like 15. And we counted everyone that walked in the door and then everyone back at the bar. And I was like, just looking for the tea lights and the mason jars. They do. It's such an atheist town, but they all look like Jesus.
Yep. But and that's why it was so unusual when American Atheists first relocated there in the late 60s, early 70s, it was not that way. It was still very much a conservative Texas town. And I think that's another reason why the police weren't too keen on investigating Madeline's disappearance, because it was just, she's out of our hair. What do we care?
Yeah,
kind of
she's
mentality.
not rebel rousing here in Austin. And Austin's always kind of been more liberal in the scope of Texas. It's always
Right.
been more liberal, but it wasn't that liberal.
Not at that time.
No, they were liberal Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what he had discovered was that $600,000 was withdrawn from the Murray's personal account, not necessarily American Atheists, and had suddenly disappeared. Also, her son, Garth, his Mercedes turned up being driven by another man in another city. And when they tracked that guy down, they showed him a picture of Garth and said, "Is this who you bought the car from?" "No, that's not who I bought the car from."
Yeah.
So they brought him in, showed him some pictures, and he picked out a person that looked like the person he had bought the car from. Turned out to be a former office manager of American Atheist that Madeline had fired for embezzlement.
Disgruntled. Yep. And that's where the embezzlement came in. And I remember reading the case history. They were talking about her like embezzlement, and I was like, please don't let it be her. And I hate to say this, but I was more happy than I should have been that it was a guy that was embezzling. Because let me tell you guys, even as skeptical and as humanist as the atheist community is, it's still a very uphill battle for women. It's usually higher educated older white men. So it's still very much an uphill battle in our community. So to be able to turn around and say, well, yeah, watch a white guy fuck over a chick yet again in the atheist movement feels really good.
But what was another thing that was so unusual about this case, they pretty much kept the three of them prisoners for a month in a couple
Yeah.
of low rent motels. No one questioned what was going on. They were seen at the pool. They rented videos at Blockbuster. That really dates this. This was definitely 90s. And, video games. And basically what had happened was they couldn't take the money out like in a cashier's check. They didn't want it in a cashier's check, of course. But they also didn't want it in cash. So what they were doing is having her son go to jewelry stores and buy large amounts of gold coins.
Yep.
And they couldn't get all the coins at once. So that's the reason I think it went on for so long.
Because I think up to a certain amount, the feds had to be alerted. If you bought
Exactly.
it's still like that too. If you buy up to a
Exactly.
certain amount of gold at once, they have to get on the phone with the feds. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then once they got the coins, I guess they didn't need them anymore and did what they did.
that was it. Yeah. I can't remember the manner. And were they bludgeoned?
The son had evidence of blunt force trauma on his
Right.
skull. They were all found with plastic bags around their skulls. So they were covered after the fact or they were asphyxiated. The coroner that looked at them actually said because they found nothing but bones. They had been burned, and it was several years later.
It was a couple of years later. Like this wasn't like 2-3 months after they found them.
Nope. And they only identified them because Mad Lad had a hip replacement and they matched the serial numbers.
Yep.
So they anticipate they were strangled or asphyxiated in some
Right.
way.
Uh-huh.
So
Which I gotta say, you know what it takes to strangle somebody? Like
I
that's
couldn't.
force. Like that's prolonged force. I'm like, I am very tiny
Mm.
and I don't have the patience to have somebody wait and die. I'm like, I'm just gonna shoot you or stab you. Like that's it. Like that I'm done.
Yep. Yeah.
That's like, I'm tired now. I'm out of shape. I want cheese fries. I have to wait on my cheese fries for you to suffocate and strangle you. Come on, man. Just
Boom.
I want to say that how old was the child?
She was in her 20s.
She was in her 20s, right? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, she
late
wasn't like,
20s.
yeah, I wanted to clarify that we're not dealing with like an infant or a toddler
No.
that he took. Madeline was in her 60s, I want to say.
She was 77.
77, yeah. So, it was 3 generations, but still, this guy wipes out 3 fucking generations because he got fired.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Well, wasn't just because of that. She had written
Well,
a pretty scathing article about him for American
Yeah.
Atheist magazine. I'm sure that had something to do with it, but still.
which, fun fact, American Atheist Magazine is still in print.
It is.
I get it 3 times a year. It's still in print. I get it 3 times a year.
And also with them was found the skull of one of the perpetrators.
Yes.
By the name of Danny Fry. They shot him because he had developed feelings, or not feelings forward, but had a heart and felt bad about what they did. And they were afraid
Became
he was going to take.
empathetic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they shot, he was found with his skull had a bullet hole in the back of the skull. So,
And that's what I don't understand. Like, you were sympathetic enough to give an easy death to your accomplice, but not to your victims. I shouldn't even say sympathetic. I'm just thinking about, like, I'm a single mom with like a ton of shows and a full-time job, so I'm looking at time.
Mhm.
I'm like, what's the most effective way to do something? Like, I don't understand why he would bludgeon and strangle them, but shoot his accomplice.
yeah, exactly. Probably because they snuck up on him. I'm guessing that they probably, because it was in
Right.
that, they probably snuck up on him. Because
Or he did it real quickly and he kept the body until.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know if they've ever done an interview with her murderer.
They did. There was a short one. I'll send you the link.
Oh, please.
But he actually, karma. I may not believe in God, but I do believe in karma. He died of lung cancer in prison. I
Good.
think in 2003 or 2008.
How funny he asphyxiated people and winds up
And he
dying
died of lung cancer. Yeah. How strange.
I'm a firm believer in the patterns of behavior that you put out
Mhm.
are what will shape the course and come back to you. So to
Mhm.
me, you kind of create your own karma.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and it's like, you're gonna do shit like that, guess where you're gonna get cancer.
Of the lungs. And the thing of it,
Lungs or the throat, baby, pick one. Yeah.
hmm he didn't even get to enjoy the money because the idiots locked it in a storage bin in San Antonio, a storage unit. And so another set of thieves that overheard them running their mouths in a diner cut the lock off and took the gold coins and went and blew it all in Las Vegas. And they were arrested later, but they didn't even get to enjoy it.
Like a month. You held these people a fucking month for nothing because you couldn't keep your fucking mouth shut.
Exactly.
And I believe that's how he wound up getting caught. Like the reporter was talking to people and finding out he was like bragging about this shit. And he was like, oh shit.
Yep.
So this fucking idiot figures like can't even embezzle fucking money correctly. Like he's got to go fucking run tell that to that shit. He goes and kills people. He's got to go fucking run tell that. And then all the fucking goals he's got to go run his mouth on a fucking diner and get that fucking stolen from him too. It's like, why do you bother?
Yeah. You're too dumb to leave.
If you hear some noise, my son is playing drums upstairs. So if that comes across, that's what's going on up there.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Too dumb to live. Too dumb to live. I always tell my wife I am the prime suspect if any murders happen we live in just outside Nashville. I said, if any murders happen in our little town, I'm a prime suspect because I do a true crime podcast. I've been noted as saying I could hide a body better than that.
Oh yeah, they're coming right for your house. See, here, unfortunately, I live the opposite end of you from Nashville. I live in Clarksville.
Right.
Which is a soldier town. And sadly, when we hear about somebody dying, we usually think it's a soldier that killed his wife. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's kind of in the trend.
Well, it was there. I'm going to do this case eventually, but it was there that a soldier that was dating a trans woman that was a dancer
Mary
in Nashville
Winchell
got murdered.
That was actually my ex-husband's unit. Not while he was serving. He came in later. Wow. And I have actually stood in the barracks on the spot where he died.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if you want to have me back for that one, I got a lot.
I would love to. Consider it a date.
Yes. We have a date for it now. Okay. Yeah. Matt, this guy, like, he couldn't keep his mouth shut. So he gets robbed. He gets busted for murder. And they had so many people that said, no, he told us that he killed her. That he, why bother going to trial? Why?
Yeah, exactly.
Why do you do that?
Yeah, keep your mouth
shut. Why are you wasting our money? Granted, Texas has a good amount of money, but still.
And then this reporter gets no recognition from the Austin Police Department for doing their job. And
sorry, my phone's ringing. I forgot to shut my ringer off, and it's across the room. Hold on, I'll mute. Go ahead.
No, but he has gone on to write for the New York Times, LA Magazine, and has won several Pulitzers. So he's definitely been rewarded for what he did.
Oh, my mic wasn't muted. I thought it was. Sorry. Shit.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. It's new. I'm still learning buttons. But yeah, he went on to be like, I believe a Pulitzer Prize. I think he won a Pulitzer Prize for an article he wrote in the Times.
Yep.
And I can't tell you what it's for, but at least somebody recognized him. And what this kind of reminded me of was a New York reporter, Michael Gusto, I believe his name was. We had the Club Kid murders, Michael Alec. Mm-hmm. And the cops would not investigate it because, these were gay men that were drug addicts and club heads. And he wrote for the Village Voice and blew this case open. And actually, Michael Alec just got out of prison about 2 years ago for his murder sentence. So this is kind of why I hate the media, but I love it, especially now. Yeah, there's a lot of big propaganda, blah, 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 blah going on. And however, if you find these smaller newspapers, you may just solve a murder. So please, and not on 4chan. That is not a smaller publication. No. Let's not on Reddit. Let's not do that again. Let's not do that. But it goes to show you just how much the view of women have changed and the view of religion has changed. Although I don't think they would be as enthusiastic, especially in certain towns, to investigate the murder of an atheist, especially an out atheist. And that kind of worries all of us that are out in activism and at the ACA. I'm not gonna lie, I love being at the ACA, but there's always that thought kind of in the back of our heads of what if some fucking madman comes running in with a gun, or somebody sends a pipe bomb to the building because of what we do. Mm-hmm. And clearly we've had an out atheist murdered in Austin before, and they didn't do shit.
Exactly. I would
So
hope now with the more influence of social media and stuff like that, there would be enough outrage that would happen. It's just like with the Golden State Killer, it wasn't really the police, it was a collaboration between a crime writer, Patton Oswalt's
yeah,
wife that passed away. It was a collaboration between her and a retired sheriff's deputy that actually led to the arrest of the Golden State Killer.
yeah.
So it just shows that regular people can do amazing things now with the power
They
of
can,
social media.
especially by word of mouth. And granted, word of mouth is not always great because you're always just a story here and there. But if you got enough people being like, "Hey, I saw this dude.
Hmm.
Hey, I saw him with that woman." It was much like I can't think of her name now. The the one in Aruba.
I can't think of that right now. I'll have to
You
look
guys
that
know
up.
who I'm talking about,
Yeah,
though. Pretty white girl, blonde hair,
yeah,
handsome little white guy, Joran, whatever the fuck his name is, killed her.
yeah.
There were enough people that said, no, we saw her leave with him. Now, granted, he didn't go to prison for her murder. However, because of who he was, Joran Vandersloot, a woman that he had picked up in another country, went up to his hotel room, figured out who he was. Now, granted, this isn't the greatest fucking way to go about this, Googled him, and he killed her in the hotel room. And that eventually is what got him landed into prison for life.
Yep.
So even putting out, hey, I think this person's a murderer. Granted, please, for the love of fuck, make sure you've got some evidence behind that because that is some fucking shit.
Yep.
Even getting and like I said, like the Michael Alig case, excuse me, they had cut up this person's body and dumped it in the river, and these pieces were floating up. And the cops couldn't have been bothered. They were gay men in the 70s and 80s in New York City who were drug addicts and, underground club kids. This wasn't the kind of cases they wanted to investigate. However, when Michael Gusto came out and said, we really need to look at Michael Alig,
Hmm.
they found the blood, they found the tissue in his bathtub. They found him bragging to people that he killed this guy. So sometimes, yeah, regular people can make or break a case, especially
Definitely.
when it comes down to significant others as well.
Hmm.
You know,
Definitely.
you trust your partner. You
Same
slip and
thing.
do shit. Yeah, you slip and do shit around your partner that you don't think you're doing every day.
Yeah. Same thing with I don't know if you ever saw the documentary Paris is Burning
Mm-hmm.
about the drag subculture in New York in
Yes.
1970s. The main drag queen on that, and I can't think of her name, when she died, this was like years after that documentary. When she
Mm.
died, this is a weird case. You can look this up. They actually, some of her friends were cleaning out her closet, and they actually found a suit bag, a dress bag in there that was so heavy they couldn't lift it. And when they opened, there was a decomposing body in it. There's no telling how long it had been there. Just weird stuff.
And I hear stories about this all the time. They're like they kept it in a drum in the garage, or it was like in a
Yeah.
suitcase in a fucking closet, or like a gun safe and shit. And I'm like, I'm sensitive to smells.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I couldn't fucking live with this. Just the smell alone. If cat food is left out too long with me, I'm like, I have
Yeah.
to, like, I can't deal with it.
But she had wrapped it in plastic and zipped it in this bag. And then they started, of course, they called the police and they came over and searched the apartment. And they
Right.
found a note she had written before she died saying that this person broke into my house and tried to kill me. And I defended myself. But because of who I am, I was afraid to go to the police.
Mm-hmm. And I can believe that.
Yeah.
I can we covered this on GB3. Actually, no, I'm sorry. We're covering this. The next
Mhm.
episode we're filming on LGBTQIA rights.
Mhm.
And how even now, like what they're arguing is, does it fall under the Civil Rights Clause? And what they're saying now is, well, when the Civil Rights Clause Act came in, there was no way that we could have figured it was going to go this far. Meanwhile, the Stonewall riots happened 4 years later. Yet the
Mhm.
Supreme Court and the government looked at this community and looked at the trans community and said, oh, we didn't think you would fight for your rights. We didn't think you'd want to be treated like people. We didn't think that you would ever come out of your houses with what you did. We didn't.
Mhm.
Oh, you're people now.
Mhm.
So now we have to start treating you like people. I excuse me, I identify as queer sexual preference.
Mhm.
For one, explaining this shit to people takes an hour. It's ridiculous. But I see the faces change still. And I'm
Yeah.
like, if I was ever murdered by a trans non-binary female partner, they wouldn't give a shit. they legitimately wouldn't give a shit. It'd be like, oh, she's just some queer chick. Like, who gives a fuck? She's not straight and perfect and white and blonde and, you know, married, you know, 2 kids, white picket fence. It's like, no, I'm a queer woman who's a single mom with 5 cats. Like, no, they don't want to investigate now. No. But yeah, it's still like that. Like, even here in Tennessee for us, I can legitimately say that if an out trans woman killed an intruder with castle doctrine laws, they'd prosecute her. They'd prosecute her. They'd prosecute a Black woman. They did with Centoya Brown, who was 15 years old, a victim of a fucking sex trafficker, was being raped nightly. And when she killed her fucking rapist, they put her in jail for life. She just got that overturned last summer.
Mm-hmm.
And this fucks me up. They didn't want to investigate Madeline Murray O'Hare's case because she was an out atheist, who was a bisexual woman, who was a single fucking mother. Mm-hmm. It's still like this. It's still like this 20, 30 years fucking later. And it's infuriating. What are we going to do? What are we going to say or do to turn around and say, hey, women, people of color, people of the LGBT community, when are we going to say that it's enough that we stand up for these minority communities and treat them as equals to the cisgendered white suburban fucking people? When are we going to stand up and say this? Because I'm sure you've had many cases where it's minority, and they're not investigated properly. Mm-hmm. But holy shit, go out and kill a white man. You got the whole fucking town on your ass. You got the FBI fucking looking for you. Fuck, I just made it on a watch list even talking about that shit right now. Like, but when it comes to women, people of color, other, the trans community, we have how many fucking trans women were murdered this year? How many? How many were solved?
I'm going to admit something, and I don't want it to come off. I'm older. I'm older than you. I'm mid 40s.
Hey, you're not that much older than me. Not by much.
I grew up when it was just LGBT. Mm-hmm. That was my.
So did I.
When I come up, so I really don't understand all the letters that encompasses yet. I'll be the first to admit. And I'm a trans ally. Mm-hmm. I'm a firm believer. I'm a libertarian by nature, so I'm a believer. Whatever you're going to be proud,
right?
And just don't hurt anyone else. That's exactly my main thing. I don't always understand that, probably because I'm not trans. I don't understand it.
Right.
I don't. I'll be the first to admit it. But I'm also not going to be cruel to a person or treat a person differently because of that. And I think if more people would come to that you don't have to accept it, you don't have to understand it, you don't have to be promoting it, but if you need to look at people because they're people. You need to look at people as people.
Yeah.
They're American citizens. They're citizens of whatever country. They deserve the same rights.
Despite some of the controversies that the ACA has had over the last year or so, contrary to what some people may think, most of us are trans activists and, trans allies. And fuck, my host is non-binary. Mm-hmm. My other co-host for nonprofits is a trans woman. I don't give a shit if you accept it, if you agree with it. Keep your fucking bigotry at home.
Yeah.
Keep your bigotry at home. I am always a firm believer in what you hate comes back in your family. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, keep spewing that hate shit. Your son's going to be a trans woman. Your daughter is going to bring home a trans man. Your son might bring home a trans man. We can only hope.
I'm a big believer of do unto others, as cliche as that is. Do unto others. And
isn't that the basic teachings of Christianity?
It is, yes. Just do unto others. This world would be, that's one thing I love about my community here on this channel and on this podcast. Right. They are so accepting of everything. I have so many different religions and non-religions and political ideologies that come on to this channel, but they're all respectful of each other. We can just discuss true crime and get along. Yeah. And that gives me hope for the world.
Yeah, that's and like I said, your ability to swing your fist ends up my nose and anybody else's.
Mhm.
Like I said, keep it at home. Keep your fucking bigotry at home.
Mhm.
We're still people. And
Exactly.
what I always tell people is you never know 100% of everything about everybody. The coworker that you love, the best friend that you have, the girl you went to college with. These could be lesbian, gay, queer, transgender, non-binary people, and you just wouldn't know, but you still love them.
Mhm. Mm. Yeah.
It doesn't change who they are as a person. This is still a person you love. They just identify differently.
Yeah.
Just like with atheists.
Yeah, we're all people. Everybody's a person. Go
and
figure.
that's when I came in opposition with my family about it. They were like, well, you're different now. And I'm like, how am I different? I'm like, I'm still me. I still speak like me. I still think the same way. I still care about the same things. I still love the same. I still hate the same. I just gave up a belief.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't make me any different. It just changed how I identified.
Yep. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like I said, you don't have to become an ally, an activist, an advocate, or anything.
But let me
treat
fucking
people-
tell you,
treat people equally and with respect.
if you become an active enemy, you will face me and people like me, and we're not pleasant to face.
I don't ever want to get on your bad side.
I'm pretty nice generally, but shit, y'all, Tracy knows me. I'm a fucking murder crusade bitch on wheels when it comes down to protecting people that especially I feel are being wronged, or people I care about, or people that I love. No, I'm yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Tracy's known me a long time. She's I don't want to get on.
I don't want to get on anybody's bad side. Especially yours. Or Matt Delahanty.
I
have
try
a
to.
feeling he
Oh,
could
you've got to see me and Matt argue something we disagree about. You would think we hate each other. We actually had somebody come up to the library, and Matt and I are discussing a topic, and we're like full on screaming at each other.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks at the other person there and goes, like, she's looking at me like, who the fuck is this bitch yelling at fucking Matt Dillahunty? Who the fuck is this kind? And the person that was there just went, oh no, don't worry. They're like best friends. That's just how they talk.
He's great. He's a great guy.
He will be at the American Atheist Convention too this year.
I'm trying. I'm going to try to go. I don't know if I can get the time off work, but I'm going to try.
If I'll be there.
Cool.
I'll be there in hoodies and stretch pants, hungover, searching for coffee.
Cool.
And nicotine. Yep. That'll be me.
I originally had asked Matt if he wanted to come on and do a case with me, and he said he would, but he said, I know people that are much more into that than I am. And he gave me your name. I said, I didn't even think of Jen. And then he gave me Beth Presswood's name too.
Yes. Beth is so into this. Yes. Yes. Beth would love this. And I have to give a shout out to Beth Presswood. She was actually the creator of Godless Bitches. Mm-hmm. So without her, I wouldn't have a show that's perfectly suited.
Yeah. And I still love Tracy Harris and Jen Peoples, and I love them.
They brought wonderful things to the ACA. They really did. They really did.
Yep.
They absolutely did.
But I think we have demolished, we have gone over the case, and we have gone at social injustice tonight.
Always when I'm in the room, ladies and gentlemen. It's just what happens.
But it has been awesome chatting with you tonight.
You too. We got to get together more often before.
Definitely. Message me. And if I don't get to see you before you move to Austin next time, I'm going to have a show in Austin. I'll let you know.
I'm front row. What? I'm front row next time. I don't care if I'm still in Tennessee. You have a show in Austin. I'm flying to Austin to come to your show.
Nice. Nice. Well, my best to you. Tell everybody hello, and I'll see you again soon. And this will actually go up. The first part of this will air Wednesday. The next this part will air Friday of this week.
Okay. Just shoot me a link, and I
will
knock it out.
All right. Thanks a lot, girl.
No problem, honey. I'll talk to you later. I got company. So
Bye.
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 Oh.